Hey there, I'm Alan Furstenberg.
And I'm Mark Tucker. Welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two voice devs. Hey Mark,
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but okay. Um, it's been crazy, and I know one of the things that we wanted to do was get back to the rest of the announcements of what's new in APL 2023.1.
Yes.
And we talked about SpeechMark, and SpeechMark is awesome. I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm having fun playing with it, and I'm looking forward to showing that off soon. Um, but I also saw a presentation at one of Jeff Blankenberg's office hours, uh, recently, where they talked about the rest of the features, and I got really, really excited about selectors, because selectors are something that CSS and jQuery have had for a while,
Right.
and apparently it wasn't possible to do this in APL, and I didn't realize that. But now it is, and I think it opens up a lot of new opportunity.
Yeah. So familiar with jQuery and CSS, and also familiar with sometimes the pain of finding a component when you're doing APL, but I missed the office hours. So could you go ahead and share with us some of the things that you learned?
Sure. So previously, the only way to reference components was by ID.
True.
So
Okay.
okay, so if you clicked a button and you wanted the background color, and you wanted some component to do something, you needed to know its ID.
Yeah.
There are two issues with this. The first is, apparently IDs are not unique, which kind of came as a surprise to me. There is a unique version of the ID, but it's internal, and there was no easy way to find out what it is. The second is that not everything necessarily has a clear ID. So, for example, if you have a list of items that's automatically generated, each one of those is its own component, and there's no way to necessarily reference the third one of those, because the system has automatically created these components for you, and you can't have assigned an ID to it. So what this lets you do is, for example, to attach a handler to it that knows which component it is and lets you act on something relative to it. So, for example, if I have a touch wrapper, that I've got a bunch of touch wrappers for items that have been created, and inside that I've got two text fields, one showing the number and one just showing some name. And when I click on it, I want the name to flash or change color or something.
Okay.
Okay. I can now use a selector to reference the node that I'm on, the second child of that.
Oh, okay.
And do something with that. So it's just a way to reference things in a relative fashion, relative to what you just clicked on, relative to the document root, relative to your parent, whatever. In some cases, you will want to say, I know that the component that's clicked on, the previous child node will be relevant for me. So I can now reference the previous child or the next child. So what a selector lets you do is say, is do things relative to your node. And that can be go to the parent, go to one of your children, or go to one of your siblings. So a node, the next or previous node of your parent.
Okay.
And then you can also do that relative to the root if you needed to do that for some reason.
So these are all things that were just recently added to APL?
Yes, this is all part of APL 2023.1.
2023.1. Interesting, because that 2023.1 included speech mark stuff, and that's kind of as far as I got when I was looking things through. So.
Right. It includes two other things which are interesting. I think this selector is one of the I mean, it's a major feature that
Yeah.
once people start to understand it, it will be really, really powerful. Because you'll then be able to do things also like, say, one of the other selectors is find. And that is find a node based on certain characteristics underneath the node that I'm referencing. So now you can say, okay, find the text node under whatever I just clicked, or find the image node,
Okay.
or find the node with the ID of whatever. And since IDs are not unique, which anyway, lets you treat it as, similar to a CSS class instead of a real ID. So now, you can start giving class assignments to things and say, find the thing that I'm pretending is a button, but isn't really a button, but pretend that it is, find its child and change it to red.
Okay.
Lets you do things like that now, which
Interesting.
starts to get really powerful. It means you can now create just kind of abstract concepts, abstract objects, and have a good way to reference for the object to reference itself.
Yeah, getting to, and that's been a kind of a challenge in some cases, would be like, how do I get to this thing that I just created, or that's, it's been challenging. I did realize at some point, that the ID was no longer unique, and but there's like a certain tree order that it searched the tree to try to find it. So you had to just make sure that, the thing that you were using it relative to that tree, but that put more of the responsibility on you to really understand where things were to make sure you found something. So
Right.
This sounds better.
This really now lets you, use ID as a class and say, this is a button. This is the text inside a button. This is, other attributes of a button or a more complicated widget.
Yeah.
You can have, say, a checkbox that has a checkbox and text next to it, and maybe a little graphic that also lights up in certain, these are things that you can now easily reference. This is incredible. This is, let's be fair, this is something that CSS has had for ages. Yeah. This is literally what jQuery was all about, was this feature.
Yep, finding
so
things.
it's really exciting to see it as part of APL. The other two things that came in with APL 2023.1. One is that you can now add subtitles to your videos. You can specify a subtitle file that goes with the video, and that's pretty neat. Yep. There are some limitations and caveats to it. Like, you can only specify one subtitle file. Turning subtitles on itself has to be done by the user in the settings. So it's not something that can be done as part of your skill in any way, shape, or form.
You can't have like a little CC button at the bottom of your video that's playing, and like, hey, I'm going to toggle on CC.
Right. Yeah. You can't do that. And you also can't toggle different languages for captioning. Yeah. If you wanted to support different languages, you have to pass that through the locale, through your skill. So it's doable at least, but it's not, just a push button that is done for you. Still, supporting that is a start.
It looks like there's some a new blend filter, or new modes for the blend filter.
Right. And these are kind of interesting. There is a APL Ninja document that shows what the new blend forms do. And
okay.
It basically lets you do some nice masking work. If you're used to if you want to do masking type things, like you have a logo and you just want to easily change the color of that logo, you can use these forms to just mask out things differently. And that's really effective and useful in a lot of ways. So these new blend filters are source, a top, source in and source out, and it basically, you know, just kind of describes where how the two things filter each other out.
They're continue to innovate or add new features, and excited about it. There's other times I ask from time to time, is anybody working on this? And they're like, we can neither confirm nor deny that this is something that could be being worked on or not. Or,
you know, and it was interesting. One of the interesting things that was discussed at the office hours where they talked about some of this, I had asked a question about easy ways to convert from SVG to AVG. And they talked about, yes, you know, there's the tool. And I said, yeah, I'd like to do this as a library. And they said, oh yeah, somebody contributed a library to do this already. And then Alexander piped up and said, yeah, we've got, you know, other ways to do this. In fact, there's now an API that will do it for you because it was brought up. So it's always interesting to see how things get into APL and how they don't.
Yeah, I can't remember what was something over the last 4 or 5 months that there was like some feature that Alexander couldn't get to, and I'm like, is there a reason why we can't just open source this part? And they're like, let's look into that. And so they did. I can't remember what it was now, but it's good. It's good that they're open to open sourcing things and are trying to get more feedback from users in the community. So I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to add new features, and it's hard to listen to different developers who want sometimes conflicting things, but I do
developers are going to want it, designers are going to want everything. And there's only so much and so quickly it can go in. You know, right now they're trying to catch up with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and that's got a 15-year head start.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, interesting new features with APL 2023.1.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks for sharing some of the insight.
You know, I'd love to hear, as always, we'd love to hear what people are doing with APL and the questions that you have about APL. Because I'll be honest, you know, I'm an APL skeptic, and I'm still a skeptic, but I like hearing and seeing what people are doing. And I think it's important to raise, you know, what are the problems that we have with APL, and what are the things that are needed for it to really take it to the next level, take it to something where I can use it in a lot of ways that maybe Amazon didn't think we could use it for. So I'd love to hear people's feedback on it. You know, find us in the usual spots. I'm almost always at Jeff Blankenberg's office hours on Tuesdays, so you can find me there, or find either of us on social, Twitter, LinkedIn. Leave comments below. We always love to hear feedback from what people are thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, and we're on the Alexa Slack too, so just find us where you're at. Look for us, and we're probably there.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, we'll love to talk about it another time on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Mark. Take care.
You too.